So Shadow of the Erdtree has introduced a whole lot of new armor sets into the game, some of which look absolutely awesome and have some pretty solid stats too. And let's be honest, who doesn't love finding the best drip for your character so you can look good while you get absolutely stomped by enemies for hours on end. Today I wanted to run you guys through 6 awesome armor sets that you can get very early on in the game, as well as a couple that are more towards the sort of mid-game area of the map too. Now the first one is very simple, and this is the Solitude Set that can be found literally within 60 seconds of spawning into the DLC. A lot of people have probably already stumbled across this on accident, although I will say, even though it is easy to find, it is pretty difficult to actually get your hands on it. From where you spawn, you want to head to the Western Nameless Mausoleum, just over here from the gravesite plain side of Grace. Now, unfortunately, you will need to beat the Black Jail Knight in order to do this, as beating him is the only way to get this armor set. Now, he's pretty tough early on, so it might be worth sort of coming back to this after you've found a few Scattertree fragments. I think I beat him pretty comfortably after I only had about 2 to 3, so you won't have to like level up massively to beat him, but most people who fight him pretty much within the first few minutes of spawning into the DLC, they do struggle quite a bit, so just keep that in mind. As you can see though, it looks absolutely awesome and it has some of the best stats in the entire DLC when it comes to the armor, though you will need some pretty good endurance to be able to wear the entire set. Now next we have this awesome Horned Warrior set, which can also be found very early on in the game. To get this, you want to head to the Ballarat Tower settlement, which is the area pretty much leading up to the first boss fight, and just head through that area until you get to the small private altar side of Grace. It's essentially impossible to miss, as there's really only one direction to go. Now from that side of Grace, just walk out this door and you will find one of these Horned Warriors. Honestly, early on they can be pretty damn tough, but eventually with a bit of repetition fighting them over and over again, you will get into a groove and you can take them out pretty damn easily. Now you will essentially need to just farm this guy until he drops all 4 pieces of the armor, those obviously being the helmet, the armor itself, the gauntlets, and the greaves. And these are essentially dropped at random, so this is kind of a little bit annoying in that it could be super quick for you guys, or it could honestly take an hour to do this. It is essentially just completely random, but in my opinion it is absolutely worth doing it, as this armor is probably some of my favorite looking armor early on in the DLC. Now next up we have the Knight set, which looks absolutely unreal. It kind of gives me like Sauron vibes, and although the stats aren't anything crazy, it is still one of the coolest looking sets of armor in this DLC. Now this one can just be found, so luckily there is no farming here, but it is quite a trek to get there if you've not progressed very far into the game. I would actually recommend watching my previous video, as I showed you guys how to pretty much access the vast majority of the map without facing any bosses at all. And so if you're not up to this area that I'm showing here, then just check out that video, as it goes into detail about how to access these areas of the map. But if you have beaten the second boss, you can essentially get here, no dramas at all. Now to get this set, you'll need to go to the Bonnie Jail, which can be found just across the bridge from the Bonnie Village side of Grace. And once you're in here, there'll be another side of Grace that you can rest at, which I would definitely recommend doing. And if possible, try and go in here with as few runes as you can, because there is actually a pretty good chance you're going to die down here. From here, you'll want to head down into the jail, and you can just follow along this path that I'm showing you guys, running past all of the enemies and just watching out. There are a few that will kind of jump out of nowhere. Jump down into this hole, and then from here, follow along this path, watching out for these weird creatures on the ground. Jump down and you'll get to another area with a bunch of pots who, although easy to run past, can deal a lot of damage. So keep on going, avoid their attacks, and after turning left, you'll make it to this area. Just keep on going through this door, and then you'll need to actually open this one. Head on through, and over to the right here, you can jump down onto this pot, which is essentially a lift, and it will take you down to the bridge. From there, you want to jump off the pot and stand on this seal over here, and then quickly jump back onto the pot. That'll then activate the pot to take you back up, but it will go a level higher than where you just came from. And right here, sitting on the table, you can find the Knight set. Now to get out of here, you can either just jump off a cliff and respawn at the side of Grace, or if you've got a heap of runes with you and you don't want to do that, head back down to the bridge where you'll find a boss fight. It is pretty easy. It's one of those crazy circular double blade enemies that you'll find throughout the map. If you call in a spirit, you'll get this done pretty easily, as you can see, and once you kill that, you can then travel back to the entrance without dying. Now if you guys are new to the channel and this video has helped you out so far, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications. There is plenty more content like this on the way. The next video is going to be pretty much the same video as this, but for weapons in the game, so make sure you don't miss out. Now next up we have the Fire Knight set, which is another awesome looking set. Unfortunately, this is another farming one though, but it is definitely worth it in the end. Now these Fire Knights can be found all throughout the Shadow Keep. Again, check that last video if you want to get here without fighting the second and third bosses, but if you've fought the third boss, you will essentially be here already. And the Fire Knights, I won't lie, they are very difficult even at a high level. They're a very annoying enemy, so just be warned, but depending depending on your build. Anyway, one thing that I found is that a heavy jump attack staggers them and cancels their attacks in most cases, and then 3 heavy jump attacks in a row will fully stagger them to where you can pretty much just delete them on the spot. So once you get the hang of them, they are actually pretty easy to deal with. It will just take a little bit of getting used to. Now, like I said, they can be found all throughout the Shadow Keep in heaps of locations. There's a good 3 or 4 of them in a row from the storehouse first floor side of Grace, but I found a great spot to farm them that is on the 7th floor, which you can just get to by progressing through the Shadow Keep. You'll eventually need to do this anyway to progress the story. It will take some time and a little bit of confusion, I'm sure, at least for me anyway, it did, but realistically, it's impossible to get lost getting to the 7th floor. Just keep on checking out the areas that you haven't been to before, and eventually you'll keep on making it higher and higher up the keep. Now, from this 7th floor side of Grace, head right out the door, and there's one right in front of you. I usually take the lower stairs just so they don't really see you, and they also don't shoot their ranged attacks at you, and once you get close, you can obviously just take them out pretty easily. Farm them until you get all 4 pieces of their armor. It is definitely a grind, but this set looks awesome, and it does have some pretty decent stats for a mid-level endurance build as well. Now, next up we have the Oathseeker Set, which can be found really easily, and funnily enough, it is actually right above you where you spawn into the DLC, which I didn't realize until I actually found it. From the main gate cross site of Grace right before Ballarat, if you head back in this direction, there is a little pathway that will lead you alongside the cliff and out onto this whole new section above the gravesite plain where you spawn, and here you'll find a site of Grace. From here, you just want to head southeast down towards the Church of Benediction, head right through this little forest area where lightning will start striking all around you, and then once you're out of there, just turn right and head through this area, watching out for the annoying enemy, which is the same enemy that I mentioned as that boss fight before. One of those will try and jump you as you go through this little cave area, but just ride past that, and behind the church here, you'll find the armor set, as well as a weapon on this dead body hanging off the edge. Like I said, from here, if you drop down into this area, you will be right back where it all began, which makes it pretty easy to get away from that enemy that is likely still chasing you. Now, last but definitely not least, we have the Death Knight set, and this is another awesome looking set in my opinion, but again, it is quite a trek to get here. From the storehouse first floor site that I mentioned in the Shadow Keep, head behind you and down the elevator, go past this Fire Knight, and then turn left, watching out for the little annoying enemies, and you will find a hidden ladder. Go down, turn right, and go through this waterfall and down another ladder. At the bottom, you'll find this room with a painting in it, and from here, just go right to this wall and attack it, and you will reveal a secret passage. Keep on heading down here, and eventually you'll come to this coffin, get in, and it'll take you to a whole new area of the map. Here you'll find a new side of Grace, and from there you want to follow this path that I'm showing here, avoiding the 2 deadly furnace golems. So don't be a dickhead like me and mess around picking up this item, because it is completely useless and it nearly got me killed. But keep on going to the next side of Grace and rest immediately, as that fire golem you just ran past has that crazy ranged attack, which can essentially one-shot kill you. Now from here, follow along the ridge, eventually jumping over to the other side, and then from there, you just want to get to the next side of Grace and rest here again. Then from here, hug the right as much as you can. It is essentially impossible to get lost, and eventually you'll start making your way further and further down until you make it to the bottom of this ditch. Then from here, if you just jump down into the little graveyard area and keep heading forward, you will come to this massive doorway. Enter that, go down the elevator, and rest at this side of Grace. Now from here, I won't lie, it is pretty tricky to not get killed, as there's a few tough enemies down here. Head down these stairs to the right and pretty much follow along until you make it all the way through past this annoying flame cannon enemy to this ladder. Head down, then head down the next ladder, and here's where it kind of gets tricky, as this enemy up here is super easy to kill if he doesn't kill you first with his insane ranged attack. You essentially just want to try and dodge all of his shots, and then once he's stopped shooting, you should just kill him super easy. He'll only take a few hits. Then head on through and across this bridge down the next elevator, and you'll get to a stake of Marika that will essentially save your progress if you die. From here, head straight out here and down the stairs to the right, take out this enemy so he doesn't knock you off the edge, and then from here, once you get to this little staircase with the broken railing, turn left there, drop down, and then behind you in this room, over to the left, you can find the armor set. Just be wary of the couple of enemies that are in this room as well. So those are some of my favorite armor sets that you can get very early on in the Elden Ring DLC, guys. Let me know in the comments which of these are your favorites, and I will most likely be back in the future with a similar video geared towards some more endgame sets as well. So let me know down in the comments if you guys would be keen on that. But with that being said, thank you all very much for watching. You guys have a great day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.